We have a ton of good news for the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI. Continue watching this video to never miss out on the most important stimulus check information. Now let's get into news. Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse has given nearly 300 speeches urging President Biden to act on climate change. He recently told reporters that he's unconvinced that Republicans are going to suddenly cut a bipartisan climate deal. A bipartisan group of lawmakers will gather this week to hash out whether a deal is possible to combat climate change and modernize U.S. energy policy. The meeting comes at a critical decision point for President Biden and his slim majorities in Congress. Most Democrats believe they have just a few weeks to finish the legislative agenda before midterm politics. Yet Joe Manchin started trying to recruit Republicans to work on energy. Timing is running short, tensions are high, and Republicans are clear about their goals. They want to break Democrats' resolve to pass another party line tax and spending bill. Democrats say there is no chance they will abandon the last-ditch efforts to pass a big, GOP-free bill lowering prescription prices. Manchin has shared that he has met privately with Chuck Schumer to talk about inflation. Schumer told reporters and Democrats afterward it was a positive meeting and remarked that because Republicans don't want to raise on the wealthy, the filibuster evading effort is the only way to get rid of inflation. Manchin told reporters, "You've got to be serious about inflation and you've got to be serious about paying down the debt. And we'll be facing a huge mess on Social Security in 2026. Now, if you have an older tax return processed, you may be growing increasingly frustrated by the day. But here's the good news. The IRS announced that there is a process of hiring 10,000 new workers to get caught up on the backlog. People have been filing taxes on paper for years, may be used to that setup and resistant to change, but there are many drawbacks associated with filing a paper return. So, all it takes is staffing issues at the IRS to cause filers to have to wait a long time to get refunds that they're owed. So the agency, if it plans to fill 5,000 positions within the coming months and then onboard other 5,000 new hires, then it will definitely help out. Folks, it's great to see that President Biden is definitely helping out the American people with stimulus checks.
Today, what improvements you see to help simplify and enhance the effectiveness of the weatherization program?
Thank you for that. Thank you for your longtime support of weatherization. I agree with you about the utter importance. There's 39 million homes that are eligible for weatherization, and unfortunately, we can only do in a given year 35 to 40,000 of them. And so there's such a great need out there. That big slug from the bipartisan infrastructure law will enable us to do hundreds of thousands more. Here's the update, and it's reflected in the budget. One is that, as you know, many homes aren't eligible, even though their income levels of the owners of the homes are eligible, because they may have a unstructurally safe roof, or they may have mold. And so part of the update reflected in this budget is another $30 million to make homes pre-weatherization ready, so that we can go in and do some of the structural changes on the homes that most needed. I mean, these are homes that needed more than anything, but the regulations are such that they haven't been eligible. So we are doing this pre-weatherization pilot, and we want to be able to see this expanded. We'll come back and let you all know how that works, but we're very excited about that. Some local, I don't know if in Maine they do, but many states have their own pre-weatherization strategy where they get their own state funding for it, but it's clearly necessary. The second update is that, as you know, we spend a lot of money every year on the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP. And that money goes to people who are low income and can't afford their bills, but often they're probably living in homes that need weatherization, and that's why their bills are so high. So we are combining now that effort. So we have asked in this budget for another $100 million to do a focus on the LIHEAP homes for weatherization, so that we can end up as a government saving money, but we can target the weatherization efforts on the homes that clearly need it most.
Thank you for that update. A second issue of great interest to me is energy storage. I was the lead author of the Better Energy Storage Technologies Act.
Folks, I know many of us are wondering about the $1,400 stimulus check and whether or not President Biden is going to get it approved. Well, according to new data from the federal government, millions of people have actually benefited from stimulus checks last year. The 2 rounds of economic stimulus checks that were distributed over the course of 6 months appear to have systematically reduced financial hardship among many people and their households. According to new Census Bureau data, between April and December of last year, the rate of food shortages fell by more than 40%. During that same period, financial instability dropped by 45%. The sharpest improvements in food, security, and financial stability occurred in the weeks immediately after President Biden signed the bill. And the IRS began sending it out that week. So as part of a stimulus relief bill, the federal government distributed $600 to nearly every American adult starting in December of last year. Another bill, the American Rescue Plan, was passed in March, with another round of checks, this time for $1,400. Two groups in particular, everybody, experienced the greatest overall decline in hardship. That includes adults living with children and households making less than $25,000 a year. Starting last July, the child tax credit was distributed in the form of a monthly cash payment to families with children, $300 for each child under 6 and $250 for each child 6 to 17. Data shows that the checks alone will lift an estimated 10 million American children above the poverty line or closer to it. However, some critics say the payments distributed too much money to people who didn't really need it, and that it lacked any oversight of how the dollars are being spent. The overall cost to taxpayers of the stimulus checks was around $391 billion, but given the popularity of the stimulus payments and the growing evidence of their impact on people's lives, it is clear that a fourth direct check will be going out sooner. Many people, economists, are arguing that with unemployment still high, the U.S. has a long way to recovery. That's why economists and lawmakers are now pushing for fourth round of checks. The good news is that it has been confirmed that the Biden administration and lawmakers are working hard to get this relief sent out. In addition, the IRS has announced that parents who added a child in 2021 could be getting up to $1,400 after they file their taxes, 2021 taxes this spring. But friends, let's not forget about this. The money will not come as a direct check, but will be part of the overall tax return. So the third stimulus check was actually in advance on what is called the 2021 Recovery Rebate Credit. What that means is that the $1,400 stimulus check that most people received is the money they would have gotten after filing their taxes in the spring of 2022. So according to a new study, researchers predict the number of homeless seniors in New York City will more than double from 2,600 to 6,300 by 2030. In Boston, the figure is projected to jump from 570 to over 1,500 over the next decade. So as the crisis continues, it is clear that Congress has to take action, more action for our seniors. And that's why the Senior Citizens League is now fundraising to support its efforts to lobby Congress to support additional checks. To support additional stimulus checks of $1,400 as the crisis continues. The federal government previously sent out $1,200 direct payments to most people back in March 2020. Then in December 2020, Congress approved additional checks of $600 to most Americans. Folks, do you believe that President Biden has to do more in helping out our seniors? Tell me what you think in the comments below.
Joining us now is Marta Norton. She is America's Chief Investment Officer at Morningstar Investment Management, and Keith Lerner, Co-Chief Investment Officer at Truist. Good to have you both here. Keith, I wonder if you can get us started with the kind of field position you see